Okay, here we go again. Here's another addition strategy that we're looking at. Now this one is called the round and compensate strategy. Let's just think about the name for a second. To round something is to round a number up, is to make it like a friendly 10. So I'll give you an example. So say you go to the shop and you see something for $4, maybe 95. You know you're going to pay $5 because what happens is it gets rounded up to $5, doesn't it? Okay, so that's what rounding means to start with. That it helps that you think about that. Compensate is a word where you sort of kind of like you compensate. You do something to make up for something. Okay, the word compensation, if you do something wrong, you give someone compensation to make up for it. Okay, so round and compensate. Let's take a look at what it looks like with numbers. We'll start pretty simple. Okay, so say I start with 18 plus 27. Now neither of those numbers are particularly friendly. Okay, so what I can do is I can decide I'm going to make one or both of them much nicer numbers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to round up both of them. And so if I round the 18, I would probably want to round it up to 20. And if I was going to round the 27, I'd round that up to 30. And that's pretty easy to see the answer there. We've got 50. The key is to think about how much did I round it up by. Well, here I rounded up by 2. I went from 18 to 20, so it was 2. And here I rounded up by 3. So this part we could call our rounding part. There, we've done our round. So what I need to do now is I need to take this, put it here. And what I've got to do is I've got to make my compensation. So what I did, of course, was I added a 2 and a 3 that weren't there originally. Okay? So what I've got to do now is compensate by taking them off. So I'm going to take off the 2, okay, and I'm also going to take off the 3. Okay, so 50 minus 2 is 48, minus another 3 is going to give me an answer of 45. Okay, and that part, remember, is called the compensate. Okay, so let's try it with another one. This time I'll only round and compensate on one of the numbers, and you'll see how that works out. So I've got 247. And I'm going to add 86 to it. Okay, so I've got to decide which one I'm going to compensate, round, sorry. So I'm actually going to round this one to 90, which means that I've added 4. Okay, so that's a little bit more of a helpful number, but I'm asking myself, is it really helpful enough? Because I'm still finding 247 and 90 a little bit tricky to do. I can't really do it in my head. So I'm going to say to myself, well, what if I round that number up even more? What if I add another 10 to it and I round that up to 100? Now, bring that down here. 247 plus 100 is real easy for me. It's 347. But what I've got to remember to do now is to compensate, is to do the opposite, take off what I put on before. So I've got 347 and I'm going to minus 10. Okay, there you go. That's where that minus 10 is coming from. It's the opposite of the 10 I added before. That gives me 337. I've got one more step, so I've got 337, and I have to minus 4, and that minus 4, of course, is coming from that 4 that I added before. And so now I end up with an answer of 333. Okay? Great, and that's exactly my answer. So I can already hear you asking, oh, that's cool, but how do you do it with decimals? Well, let me show you. Same thing, the rounding and compensating. Okay, so here we've got 2.48, and we want to add 1.79. Neither number is particularly nice or easy to do, so we start thinking about compensating. So again, okay, if I want to round and compensate this number, well, I could add 0.01, and that's going to give me a new number of 1.80. But then I could add another 0.2, and that's now going to give me the number 2. And I'm going to put the zeros in 2.00, so you can see kind of how we went. You know, the 1 went on to that, came down to there, and then the 2, and we sort of ended up there. And now I've got a pretty easy problem of 2.48 plus 2 equals 4.48. So that, remember, is my round part. And now what I've got to do is my comp, or my compensate. So I come to my 4.48 and I think, okay, what did I do? I added 0.2, so I must minus 0.2 off of it, okay, to bring me back to kind of where I started. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minus 0.2. Really important that you get the place value right. So the 0.2 is going to come off the 0.4, give me 4.28. There we go. And now I've got 4.28, and I need to minus from up there the 0.01 I added, so I've got a minus 0.01, so that's going to come off the 8, so I'm going to get an answer of 4.27, and there's my answer. And you can see it was the same process that we did of rounding and compensating with the whole numbers. So, give it a go.